I wonder if you already know that emotional eating affects nearly 50% of Americans. So, do you ever struggle with using food to cope with your emotions instead of dealing with them or coping with them head on? If you aren't sure, we're going to talk about all of this today in today's Mindful Monday. If it's your first time joining us, feel free to type in the comments where you're coming from, any questions or comments, any topics you'd like to hear about. Also, first timers, if you type the word mindful after the broadcast, I'll go back and put a link that if you follow it, you'll get some freebies, which include a PDF copy of our cheat sheets, which is bullet points of whatever we cover each week, as well as a free hypnotic audio I created on releasing limiting beliefs. So if you aren't sure if you're an emotional eater, the 6 signs that you may be suffering from emotional eating are: you eat in response to negative emotions. Number 2 is you eat even when you're not hungry. Number 3 is after you eat, you feel guilty. Number 4 is your weight tends to fluctuate quite frequently. Number 5 is you turn to food for comfort. And number 6 is you have trouble controlling your eating. Now, if this resonates, or if any of these resonates with you, we're going to talk about 10 steps to follow to help you to manage or overcome emotional eating. So step number 1 is to identify your triggers. The most common ones are stress, sadness, anxiety, boredom, loneliness, and believe it or not, happiness. Happiness is also a trigger for overeating. Step number 2 is to make a plan. You want to keep healthy snacks on hand no matter where you are. You want to prep your meals perhaps in advance. This can help you to kind of keep track of what you are eating. You want to make a list of any kind of healthy foods that you do enjoy eating and avoid these trigger foods particularly. And then you can also schedule your meals and snacks so that you're not mindlessly, putting food into your body. Step number 3 is to address your emotions. You can do so by actually accepting them and then expressing them and then letting them go. You can also find other great ways to cope with emotions, such as we talked about EFT or tapping before, eye movement, breath work, yoga or exercise, hypnotherapy. You really want to practice self-compassion when you're making such a change too. Step number 4 is to develop a healthy relationship with food. So be mindful of your eating habits for one, and then find other ways as above that we talked about to cope with stress. So also you don't want to deprive yourself of your favorite foods. You want to make time for your meals and you want to eat when you are hungry. Okay? Now step number 5 is learn to manage stress better. And you can do so by getting enough sleep, eating regular meals while avoiding processed foods. You can get moving with exercise, knowing that it releases endorphins, which are those feel-good neurotransmitters. You can connect with loved ones. You want to take breaks during your day too. And then getting out into nature can really be useful as well. So step number 6 that we're going to talk about is to listen to your body and to eat mindfully. So you don't want to eat those trigger foods. You don't want to keep those trigger foods around. The ones that you turn to in emotional, whether it be ice cream or whatever it is, if that's your trigger food, then you don't want to necessarily keep that in your house. Pay attention to your hunger cues as well. You want to find other ways to cope with stress or boredom, as we talked about before, and make sure that you're getting enough calories throughout the day so that it doesn't feel like you starved all day and then you're gorging yourself. If you're intermittent fasting and you're doing great at it, I'm not talking about that, but if you forget to eat all day or you're too busy to eat and then all of a sudden you're gorging and that becomes the issue and you don't notice your hunger cues, then that's what we're talking about here. You also don't want to eat mindlessly, sitting in front of the TV with chips or pretzels or whatever it is kind of thing and not even knowing, the amount of food or calories that you're putting into your body. Listen to your body, and after you do eat a meal, and be mindful while you're eating the meal, of course, if you notice that you are still hungry, then, after you finish eating, then you can add a little bit to it. But you might want to pause or drink some water in between. Don't just mindlessly keep putting food in there just because you didn't eat enough calories all day and now you're hungry, so you keep going. So be patient with yourself. And step 7 is make time for that physical activity, those feel-good endorphins. You want to get up and move if you're at a desk, particularly every hour, even if it's just a little stretch or something like that. And then make at least 30 minutes of time for a workout. And by a workout, I'm not saying that you have to go to the gym. It could be a walk, something like that. a little yoga, whatever it is for you. Find an activity that you enjoy though, so it doesn't seem like another task that you have to do for the day. Make sure you're setting realistic goals for yourself too. For instance, attempting to lose 20 pounds in 1 month is neither healthy nor realistic, and it's not going to keep you motivated because it's not going to actually, if you accomplish it in 1 month, you would not be healthy and you're not going to be able to keep that up. So you want to create these smart goals that are realistic, have time orientation, but they're also healthy, and that's going to give you more motivation as well. And celebrate your little successes. We talked about that in our tiny habits talk. And the ways that you can celebrate, of course, we don't want to celebrate with food now because that's what we're talking about. So if you reach perhaps a certain goal or something like that in your, your diet, exercise routine, or you've done, 3 weeks of mindful eating, whatever it is for you, you might choose something healthy like getting a massage or, maybe a new workout outfit, whatever it is, something little, or, just something tiny, taking a bubble bath, whatever. So step number 8 is to avoid unhealthy coping mechanisms. So don't attempt to suppress your emotions because they're just going to come out one way or another anyway. Find constructive ways to deal with them. So you don't want to use food, like we said, as a reward, and you want to be mindful of your eating. And you also don't want to use other substances to numb out or dull your emotions or to ignore them because, again, emotions will continue to come out at some point. And step 9 is to, if you feel the need, seek professional help. You can talk to doctors, seek out a therapist for cognitive behavior or dialectical behavior. You can join a support group. There are a ton of those. You can meet with a nutritionist, see a hypnotherapist, read some self-help books, or talk to a trusted friend or family member. So just kind of getting a little bit extra help in whatever way works for you. And then step 10 is to really invest in the right tools. And this could mean exercise clothing, it could be equipment, classes, memberships, sneakers, or whatever it means for you in particular. It could be a food scale or, different types of a juicer. I don't know. Everybody's got their own thing, right? And so there are also all kinds of apps, including tracking apps like, like MyFitnessPal and BodySpace are a couple of those. There are support apps like Noom. There are mindfulness apps like Insight Timer and Stop, Breathe, and Think, and there's so many. And there are numerous relaxation and stress management apps as well, and tons of other exercise apps of all sorts of exercise too. And there's even healthy recipe apps. Many of them are free or have a small charge, but you can usually get some free stuff and then decide what you want, try it out. There's usually trials, so that kind of stuff. And there are even fun little techniques developed by psychologists, like the stop, drop, and roll technique by Dr. Jill Doddard, which is simply whenever you find yourself eating emotionally or having the urge to do so, stop what you're doing, drop that food out of your hand, and roll on out of the kitchen or whatever room you're in or place that you're in and finding that food at. And another cool technique by Dr. Susan Albers is known as the 5-step pause, plan, and proceed technique. So the steps are really just to pause what you're doing, plan, and then proceed ahead, and then prevent and persevere. So fun little techniques. It was fun learning about them for me too. So I hope this has been useful for all of you. It's great to be back. We had to take a little pause for the cause, and we plan on continuing now. We are almost at our 2-year anniversary in a couple of weeks, so we'd love to hear some topics that you would love to hear as well. Have a wonderful Mindful Monday and a great 4th of July if you're in the U.S. Bye.